On the afternoon of July 29th, 2026, I found myself in the tiny hamlet of Thayer, Iowa. Thayer has only one paved road and no businesses except for an outpost of the U.S. Postal Service. It would never be a summer vacation destination for me were it not for Thayer's most defining feature: 2 pairs of steel rails slashing the community in two. Thayer is milepost 376 on BNSF Railway's Ottumwa Subdivision, once the Chicago to Denver main line of the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy Railroad. Under successors Burlington Northern and BNSF, it has been transformed into a conduit for coal trains traveling from mines in Montana and Wyoming to points east. It was on this sweltering afternoon that I, just after filling up the railfan mobile, chased one of those coal trains west for 15 miles before pulling into Thayer to watch it roll by. This empty westbound coal train would be the first of many movements I would capture over the next 3 days at the end of July 2026. My travels would span 3 counties on U.S. Highway 34 and quintessential Iowa gravel roads. After hours of driving, waiting, recording, and editing, I am proud to present the 3rd video in my series that covers the BNSF through southern Iowa. This is the west end of BNSF's Ottumwa Subdivision. The Ottumwa Subdivision's western terminus is Creston, Iowa. Creston has been a railroad town since it was first established as a survey camp in 1868. In the Burlington days, it was a division point and at one time had a machine shop and roundhouse. Today, the downtown is still dominated by the 1899 built depot, which continues to serve Amtrak's California Zephyr twice a day. Creston is still a BNSF crew base, with a yard to hold trains awaiting crew changes. On this particular day, I had arrived in Creston to witness the meeting of 2 high-priority manifests. Rolling into town is the eastbound H-LINGAL, or LINGAL, which runs daily between Lincoln, Nebraska and Galesburg, Illinois. Today's LINGAL is led by a General Electric ES44DC locomotive in the old Heritage II paint scheme. Trailing second is an older C44-9W built in 2002. The train is passing its westbound counterpart, the H-GALLIN, or GALLIN. Once the LINGAL comes to a stop, it doesn't take long for the GALLIN to get on the move. The engineer throttles up his 2 big locomotives to get the monster train up to speed. Although the BNSF has now been around longer than predecessor Burlington Northern, the latter's interlocking B and End Herald is still commonly seen on this line. Today's train was a big one. A third locomotive is pushing on the rear. Although remote-controlled helpers are standard on coal and other unit trains on the Ottumwa and Creston subdivisions, the H-LINGAL and H-GALLIN may or may not have them, depending on how long and heavy the train is that particular day. Later that afternoon, I set up in the town of Murray to intercept another westbound empty coal train. I had chased this coal train out of Osceola for about 10 miles and had only just gotten out of the car when the headlights appeared around the curve. General Electric ES44AC locomotives bracket and Electromotive SD70ACE on this train. The ES44AC and SD70ACE are BNSF's preferred motive power of choice for coal trains. Although both models can be seen all around the system, coal and other heavy unit trains are their preferred stomping grounds. By Wednesday evening, I had set up at the old Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy Depot in Osceola. Built in 1907, it still serves passengers as Amtrak's busiest Iowa stop, due to Osceola being the closest station to Des Moines. Before Amtrak arrived to make its station stop, BNSF sent an eastbound loaded coal train through. Most loaded coal trains on the BNSF Ottumwa Sub run either 2x1 or 2x2, 2 locomotives on the head ends, and 1 or 2 remote-controlled distributed power units, or DPUs, on the rear. Tonight's is a 2x1, an SD70ACE and 2 ES44ACs. Only a few minutes later, in Amtrak number 5, the westbound California Zephyr rolls into its Osceola station stop, nearly an hour late. Tonight, Zephyr is the first to come through Iowa in several days. Amtrak had canceled the train for the past 3 to account for track work in Iowa. More specifically, a bridge west of Thayer was being replaced. 2 battle-worn and weary P-42s are leading tonight's train, although there are 3 repainted Phase 7 cars in the consist. This will likely be the final paint scheme the superliners will wear before they are retired in favor of new single-level equipment by the mid to late 2030s. The oldest superliners date back to 1981. The next morning we were up early and drove to Creston to see what was happening. Although I was hoping the Creston depot would have been open, it was not. But there was an eastbound coal train that had just finished a crew change and was starting to move. The decision was made to drive all the way back to Thayer and wait for it there. A pair of workhorse SD-70s were on the point of 100-plus aluminum coal hoppers, full to the brim with low-sulfur coal from the Powder River Basin. These TVAX coal hoppers are owned by the Tennessee Valley Authority and are likely headed to Memphis, Tennessee. From Memphis, they are handed on to the Norfolk Southern Railway, which will take the train to Kingston, Tennessee, and the large Tennessee Valley Authority coal-fired power plant there. Later that morning, I relocated to the bridge across the tracks in Thayer. Across southwest Iowa, there are many old steel and wood road bridges that allow for great overhead perspectives of trains. Before long, what I was looking for appeared on the horizon. Those are the headlights of the westbound Galesburg to Lincoln Manifest. Like yesterday's Lingal, the leader today is an ES44DC in the Heritage 2 paint scheme. BNSF introduced Heritage 2 in 1997 as its new corporate paint scheme, replacing Heritage 1. Drawing heavily from the visual style of BNSF's predecessor, Santa Fe, Heritage 2 was mainly applied to new C44-9Ws, SD-70 Max, and several other locomotive types. In 2005, BNSF rebranded to their current Swoosh paint scheme. The last locomotives to receive the Heritage 2 paint were just over 90 ES44DCs and 30 pre-production ES44ACs. A quick stop in Murray finished out the morning's railfanning. Here's Amtrak number 6 rocketing through town. Later that day, I began to start exploring east of Osceola. Driving on Highway 34, I had gotten to the town of Lucas, about 18 miles down the road, when I intercepted some westbound coal empties. Turning back around, I managed to pace ahead of them and nab them at a crossing on the outskirts of Osceola. This coal train is passing through one of the few areas in the Ottumwa Subdivision that is Centralized Traffic Control, or CTC. This means that the dispatcher back in Fort Worth, Texas, controls everything directly, such as signals and switches. The reason this area is CTC is because there is a double crossover here, and dispatch needs full control to do what they need to do with these signals and switches to make sure things run smoothly. The last train of the day was another westbound, coming through the Osceola depot. It's another one of those TVAX coal trains, heading back to the mine for another load of coal. Friday, July 31st was my last day in the area. Earlier that morning, I had seen on the steel highway rail cam that looks over Creston that a coal train was headed my way with a Montana Rail Link locomotive trailing second. MRL 4318 is one of 29 SD70 ACE locomotives acquired by the BNSF during their takeover of the Montana Rail Link back in January of 2024. Most of these locomotives have been pressed into coal service and are not allowed to lead trains because they lack positive train control. This is the second time I've caught an MRL locomotive on a coal train on this line. Back in 2024, I documented Sister 4316, working hard west of Red Oak, Iowa. Later that morning, I heard the defect detector east of Osceola go off. A quick drive out of town confirmed that another eastbound loaded coal train had just passed through, and I set off to meet it in the town of Lucas. Lucas is small, but honors its railroad heritage by displaying a Burlington Northern caboose next to the tracks. It took just a few minutes of waiting before another pair of big EMDs hustled loaded PPEX coal gondolas west. I believe these PPEX hoppers belong to the Plum Point Energy Station, a coal-fired power plant in, ironically, the town of Osceola, Arkansas. Why they are taking this line instead of being routed southeast via Kansas City and Springfield, Missouri is a mystery to me. I knew before I left I had to get at least one train with an older BNSF-9 leading, and luckily there was one on the point of today's Lingal. I caught him as he was stopping for a red signal east of town, awaiting a track warrant to continue. A couple minutes and he was on the move. I quickly jumped back in my car and raced down the road to see if I could intercept him in the sleepy town of Woodburn. If I would have waited just a few seconds longer to leave, I would have missed my chance to set up here. Less than 2 minutes later, it was all over. This was the last train I saw before I had to leave to drive up to Des Moines for a family event and then home to Minnesota. Thank you all so much for watching. Even though I know I'm not the most regular uploader, I really appreciate any and all support. If you liked this video, give it a like, recommend it to a friend, and make sure to subscribe to be notified whenever I post another video. I'll be back in college soon, so I likely won't get out much before September, but I'm trying to work out a time to drive to several other locations this fall, so stay tuned for that. Otherwise, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you down the line.